Good evening, everyone. China's iSpace launch firm rakes in $729 million for reusable rockets. Bezos, watch out. AST Space Mobile announces a private pricing arrangements for $1 billion in senior convertible notes. That's the big money news this week so far. While Stace Daily notes key staff exits at XAI and other problems, The Hill, conversely, thinks Musk's proposed Moon City supercharges our return to the moon. Sky Aurora, one of our poster kids, is diving in to buy assets from Orbex, now in receivership. But an EU source claims that Orbex's death might have come simply from UK overregulation. That's a big topic. A Latvian startup wants to build a cheap reactor for the moon that is literally powered by other people's nuclear waste, which is, I think, is amazingly interesting. ULA is claiming a bright future and a mere 18 to 22 launches. Oh, well, a rocket powered by water and maybe a lot more, including trolling turtles. From the news desk as the Center for Space, Commerce, and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. As you know, this show is brought to you by the Center for Space, Commerce, and Finance. And what do? Well, of course, we champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through access and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. Remember, the Center is a 501c3 nonprofit. So just go to our website, cscf.space/support. And click that donate button and drop a little in the tip jar. We appreciate it very much. In addition, if you like this show, I know you do, and you support this show, and I know you do, tell your friends, get them in. Thanks so much. My oldest space friend, Michael Lane, is also here. I can't come up with enough superlatives for him, so I'm just going to bring him in. Michael, come on. How you doing, man?
Oh, it's nice to know you've run out of superlatives. I haven't heard you say charming, super intelligent, wise. I haven't heard you use those words yet, but
we can only go so far. I didn't say I used all the superlatives I'm capable of using. I just said I've run out of them.
Right. Well, I want to compliment you on your new hat, right? New year.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. I found this the other day just by happenstance. Oh, yeah, I need that one.
Nice.
So
nice.
I was looking for something else entirely, and there it was. Screaming at
me. It's magic. I'm kind of digging it. Yeah. I don't know that I'll ever get fully past your other hat because, man, that was a trademark hat.
And I'll still be using it a lot, so it's not going anywhere. I'm going to cover part of it with tinfoil for Thursday, and so it'll be bad
for a second.
You can't do that with this one; it just didn't work. Okay, Jason's here. Veronica's here,
y'all. Let's talk for a second about tinfoil hat episode on Thursday because honestly, I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah. I am looking forward to that. It's going to be. I was going to mention it at the end of the show anyway, and I'll do it again now. We'll do it again now because you brought it up. It's extra fun. We call it Tinfoil Hat Night, and we want you to bring your friends, bring your favorite space conspiracy theories, your favorite beverage, and some popcorn. Our returning guest Alice Beanhoff will also be joining the fun, and so I really want to push audience participation. That is highly recommended. I've got some stuff of my own. And so, absolutely, we're going, as Sean says, we're going coast to coast on this.
Right,
we are going coast to coast.
I do want to draw the line at vampires and lycanthropy. That's the coast to coast show that's stuck in my mind.
But is that space?
No, right. That's my point.
When we start talking about the hidden Mars
Right.
program in 1970, when we start talking about shit like that, I start going into David Wilcock territory. You're going to feel it, man. You are going to feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be fun. I'm less about, old conspiracy theories, because honestly, I don't know that much about them, but
right.
I got a whole bunch of in the near future conspiracy theories. So,
I've got a great new one. You're going to love it.
Right. And the I shouldn't call them conspiracy theories, because it's a conspiracy of one. It's my opinion of what I think the crazy could be soon. Right. The crazy options. Yeah. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Tin hat and all. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
All right. What do we got?
Well, China's we're always looking for space and money. Well, cheer them or jeer them. China does have a semi-private space.
Yep. And that's Tom. All right. So we're talking about China's iSpace, which is a combination of a privately focused company that is supported by an awful lot of governmental dollars. Is that substantively different than SpaceX and Blue? Tomato, especially in the early days. But still, $729 million for reusable rocketry, right?
They call it a D++ funding round.
Yeah, right. Good for them.
Is that their funding round, or is that their rating? What are we saying? What are we really saying here, folks?
Yeah. But, all jokes aside, I've been saying for a long time, and this is part of that Starship Singularity idea, is that it's not just about SpaceX. It's about all of the other follow-on companies that are going to use that technology, pioneered at SpaceX, pioneered at Blue, but they're going to take that tech out into the world. India's already working on the system, and now we've got this one. So, I think it's kind of neat. I mean, despite what, Greg Autry and folks say about Red Moon Rising, I think the more reusable rocketry systems we have in the world, the better the world is. So fingers crossed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We do have someone new here, unless you've seen her before. Catherine Chitwood is joining us. Hi, welcome.
Hey, glad to have
you before.
Right.
I don't know if you're related to the sheriff of Volusia County in Florida, but maybe not. But we're going to say hey and welcome.
Welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Morty, I want to give a shout out to our regulars I said something just before the show started. Like, for a lot of y'all, this is appointment television, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're old enough to know that, you did what you had to catch your Friday night show or your Thursday night show or whatever. But the world doesn't work that way anymore, and so for the folks who tune in, we're especially grateful. Thank God
for the mid '80s when Beta and VHS kind of changed all that a little bit.
Right, for sure. But for y'all that stick with us week in, week out, twice a week, we're grateful. And Catherine, nice to have you. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, and next one involving money. I'm always like, we're always trying to do this, the intersection of space and money. Some weeks, some days, we don't always get there. But today, we're making our mark today, because you have 729 million over here, and now AST Space Mobile is they're building the first and only space-based cellular broadband network, commercial, accessible by everyday, accessible by smartphones, designed for commercial and government applications. And they're pricing out a $1.0 billion aggregate principal convertible senior note due 2036. So this is a private notes offering. It's a little bit different than the way things are usually done, like in VC or even angel investment that we usually cover. But this is pursuant to Rule 144A under the Securities Act of 1933. And so they're doing that right now. Actually, they did it a few days ago. This press release was done on February 12th.
Yeah, it's supposed to settle tomorrow. So,
yeah,
I brought this one up because this is kind of outside our normal wheelhouse, right? We're always talking about government financing and contracts for folks, and we're talking about VC, but honestly, this is the first big institutional round that I can remember that is debt focused. And I really wanted to point that out because our industry is not usually considered mature enough to get this kind of debt. So I was quite surprised by this. What do you think about that?
Well, no, I absolutely agree. It's I thought the number kind of got me. $1 billion?
Yeah.
Holy mother! You know, that's okay. That's great. I hope I see other companies down the road be able to follow this path as well. And we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of companies that have already gotten big funding rounds, but if they wanted to expand it again and they're mature enough, they could do that too. Stoke could do this 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of companies we already talked about. They've already gotten 9-figure deals. They could do this within a few years too.
And it makes more sense, right? Like, why would you keep giving up equity if you can start to get debt? If you've got a plan that supports debt, most of the space companies don't have that. But you gotta think this is a defensive move. If SpaceX and Starlink are gonna do what they say they're gonna do, these folks are either out of business or an acquisition target, or they have to have enough money to be a moat to keep their own business. There's kind of no options for them. So good on them for reacting. I feel like this is a direct reaction to the ambiguous but as yet undefined SpaceX going public. If I was AST, I would want to have as much money in the checking account as possible right now. So good for them. I'm excited for the whole industry just because of this transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the thing. Our new visitor, Catherine, is just diving in here. Before maybe we go to the next news item, we should.
What do we got there? Hey,
some interesting stuff. She's been looking into what's happening in her local public utility district, and I guess it's pretty wild. You have the massive AI server farms literally melting their transformers because they aren't cooled right. And they call that thermodynamic debt. And they're flaying the public gear to power their private profits. And if the grid goes down or transformer blows, the PUD board is actually personally liable under state law.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I just looked up her profile on LinkedIn, so I'm not stalking you. Just, that's how the internet works. So she's Kate, not Katie. So hi, Kate. Yeah, it's kind of crazy what's happening there. And Sean says hi, by the way. So great, glad to have you. All right. Oh my goodness, and we've got Joaquin Gallardo on this call.
Oh my God!
You of all people, I hope that somehow y'all are involved with the AST move, because that would have been a good move. For folks who don't know, Joaquin was a guest of ours probably 3 months ago, because he's I'm going to mess up your title. I think vice president at Silicon Valley Bank. I forget what his title is, but he's one of the guys who hands out the money after the relationships are built. So, all right, cool. Let's move on, unless you got something else to say about AST.
No, I just thought it was great to notice, and we'll see how that goes. Now we got two things. These things are kind of a back-to-back. There's one, but then there's kind of the opposite. So the Space Daily article is talking about XAI seeing key staff exits, while Musk just promises moon factories. But half of that original founding team has now left the company after the acquisition. The two co-founders resigned in rapid succession. And so it raises questions about talent retention, ahead of the IPO. And that's why I thought it was worth mentioning. the 6 out of the 12 member team that launched XAI 3 years ago have left.
Yes, that might be bad on the surface, but seriously, they've got enough bench, enough depth there that I feel like this is a non-story. I understand why people need to write about it, because there might be something if you scratch the surface, but on the surface, it seems like no big deal. And then also think about it from this perspective. They just merged in with SpaceX. A lot of people just became, gazillionaires overnight. Yep. Equity vested. Like I'm not privy to the details of those transactions, but it is very safe to say that that some of these folks just got a giant payday. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to do your own thing, and the boss man is a kind of a tough guy to work for, maybe it is you do want to move on to greener pastures.
And well, although the last paragraph here also says something, maybe it's a little bit important. The churn at XAI just mirrors a wider pattern of staff turnover across the AI industry, where a fierce war for top talent is going on anyway, and has driven pay packages into the tens of millions of dollars. So it could be part of that too.
Yeah, that would have been good. We just had Joyce on the call on the show last week. This would have been something really worth asking him about with his industry experience. Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm not crying for XAI.
No, not at all.
Not. So, what else we got?
The back to back on that same coin is the Hill, which goes in the opposite direction and says Musk's lunar city plan supercharges America's return to the moon. Just blatantly, unreservedly, super fan.
Right. Yeah. So a tiny bit about the author of this article. He and I often disagree with how the world works. I'll be subtle about that.
Yeah.
We rarely agree on things outside of space, and he does kind of tend to be kind of hyperbolic. Like he does tend to put a lot of hyperbole in his articles. Gets them read, and people want that, and it's not quite clickbait, but it's clickbait adjacent. But all that said, he's right. I don't always agree with him, but this time I do. He's right. I said this last week. People are going to have to rethink their business plans just because Musk decided to shift from Mars to the moon.
That includes a company called Liftport, doesn't it?
It sure the hell does. Yeah. We're thinking about this really hard. But we're not the only ones. Not at all. We're just public about it. So he uses a lot of the quotes from Musk's original post, right? He posted that the night of the Super Bowl. I'm just going to read some of his text. The data centers, instead of launching from Earth, would be manufactured on the moon and launched by electromagnetic mass drivers into Earth orbit. Launch costs would be dramatically reduced because of the moon's lower gravity and the costs measured in part in electricity. So he is all in on the mass driver idea. I definitely am all in on the mass driver idea. It's been around for decades, but this might be the catalyst that makes it happen, right? In the same way it might be the catalyst that makes my elevator happen. It might be the catalyst to make mass drivers, which then comes back to what Sean's always talking about, which is down mass from orbit being kind of the next key.
It still gives me, I still have a question or two about that whole thing, because because originally back in the days of Jerry's kids, Jerry O'Neill, when he talked about mass drivers, it was purely to get mined lunar material cheaply off the moon and into an orbiting industrial facility who would then process it into usable materials and build an L5 settlement, O'Neill comet,
right,
or something, or anything else you wanted to do. It never occurred to me because the incredible G forces that you're going to use, it didn't occur to me to put some pieces of sensitive electronic equipment in that bucket and try to shoot it anywhere in a way that wouldn't destroy it. We're not really solving a problem, because right now I can go from Avialto's experience. When we launch a communication satellite, every transponder on there, every KU, KA, C-band, X-band transponder has to be space hardened with a lot of extra material just to survive the first 30 minutes of its life in space. But that material then has to stay with it. And, and you're always moving that extra mass if you get to move it at all or revive it. In the case of Avialto, we can put twice as many transponders in a 55 kilo electronics payload. We don't have to space harden them. So we can carry twice as many and generate about 4,000 megahertz of bandwidth over quite a nice area. So it's kind of, you're kind of reversing it back to the old school. If you're going to start launching these things out of a mass driver toward Earth, you're going to have to space harden it again, which adds to the mass that's there forever. You might be able to recycle it at the other end, but it's just an extra thing you got to do. That's my thought on it.
Right. There are dumb parts of orbital data centers that are not fragile.
Yeah.
Those parts you're going to be able to construct on the moon and send them up, right? And then you send the smart pieces, the difficult or fragile pieces up from Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're starting on day one, building chips on the moon. Not at L1, not anywhere, not in orbit, not anywhere for a while. There are companies that are trying to work on that tech, but they're at the lab level scale problem. They're not
right. But if he's building a city on the moon, okay, there's going to be plenty of, even the way he builds it, even if he ships stuff up through that thing, there's still plenty of work for a lunar elevator to do. To move sensitive material, to move sensitive.
Right. There's Tom again. Dang it.
I hear you. Also to move people, obviously. You're not going to you're not going to slam them out of a catapult.
Yeah.
No.
I want to just take a moment and put Joaquin's article or post up on the screen for a second, because I think he makes a kind of a cool point that I wasn't really thinking about. So superficial answer, yes, we know. It's a chat window. There's only so much you can put into it. Debt is usually after a raise, but also independent of it, depending on revenue scales. So for all of us folks trying to build space systems, that's the answer. But I'm counting on. It's nice to know that there is debt out there that doesn't all have to come from. I say it lovingly, from vulture capitalists, right? That if you've got the right deal, and I think I do. If you've got the right deal, debt is a real path for. So glad to have your answer on that. Appreciate that.
That's it. Yeah. Well, hey, selling point for the elevator, Sean says, move your complex widgets in either direction.
Yep, exactly. All right. Anything more to say about Elon Musk?
Oh,
are we done with that?
Not today. We'll have a lot more next time, but
we try to not make this the Elon Musk show.
But it brings in viewers, doesn't it? We've got, what do you have? 7,700 people came through just in the last few days to say hi, wave. Yeah. So it's we're picking up steam.
Good. Glad to hear
Okay.
it. All right. Let's talk about one of our darlings.
One of our poster kids, Skyrora, won one of our BPCs a long time ago, and they're doing very, very well.
Let me put something in. Sorry, go ahead.
They're doing very, very well, and enough. Apparently, they're exploring buying assets of the struggling rival Orbex. Now, Orbex was this company, they also based in Scotland, and they were building something called the Sutherland Spaceport, and they were going to launch stuff from there, and they were based near Inverness, and but they're having serious problems, and using American style terms, they're going into receivership. Yep. And there's an interesting story maybe behind that we'll pick up back to this one. I just like the fact that Skyrora, is trying to pick up some good stuff, including maybe a spaceport for pennies on the pound. So that's right.
I want to point out like why they're one of our darlings, right? Because we do have new viewers, we do have new listeners. They may not have heard this story. So why is Skyrora one of our darlings?
They won one of our new space business plan competitions. I think it was at ISDC in either 2018 or 2019, just before the Troubles.
Exactly. So you have to imagine this, right? So there's a couple hundred people, 200 people in the audience. There's maybe 7 companies presenting and competing. Mm-hmm. They've just completed a 3-day boot camp, and now they're up on stage and they're all giving their pitch. They're all giving it their best. And that boot camp's really an important part of what the Center for Space Commerce and Finance does, because we have helped hundreds of companies, be screened and be presented in front of real judges who write real checks. And even though, our prizes will be as low as $5,000 and as high as $1,000, it's not necessarily about winning the prize. And so Skyrora came in, they wowed the judges, they did a great job, they were totally investor ready, and they won, and good for them. And then fast forward, here it is 7-8 years later, they're big enough, strong enough that they're looking to acquire one of their competitors. So it's really awesome to see, not every company that goes through our systems do that, but some of them do, enough of them do. So just trying to give you a little bit of a shout out, since you're not really tooting your own horn, Tom. I wanted to make sure that the horn got tooted.
Okay, well, okay,
right.
We got that. Now, but here's the backstory now. So I think it's another one of those things, the other side of the coin,
right?
Because somebody called the European Spaceflight Blog, they suggested, this is a separate topic technically, but it ties in, that it was, the failure for the exploration company suggested that the future of his failure of his acquisition of launch service startup Orbex was linked to the UK government's decision not to approve the transaction.
Oof. That's hard.
Yeah. And I've already heard a lot. I just heard some politician I never heard of before in England just a little bit ago. They're founding yet another political party. And but they can do that. That's one thing I appreciate about them. This is an aside. We could tap this later. Right. One of the things I like about the UK system, probably the only thing I like about the UK system, parliamentary system, is that they can form a new political party on the back of an envelope and 6 months later have an election and have people in parliament. Now, Nigel Farage is working on his 3rd chapter with this.
Oh my God!
He founded the UKIP party way back when and got in there, and then he got elected to the EU Parliament. When they were still part of the EU, and then he founded Brexit and ran that movement to its conclusion. And now he's got this new party that he's founded, and they're getting like 50% traction now.
Oh my God.
And
Wow.
so I laugh at the irony. I have friends, close friends. They want
Yeah.
to, they're so scared of what's happening in this country because of Donald Trump, they're going to move to the UK. And I think
Right.
I haven't said anything to them. I think,
Not better
what are
there.
you gonna do when Nigel Farage becomes the prime minister?
Oh man.
That's my aside.
Oh my
We'll put it aside because that's what's happening over there. And one of the biggest problems that makes that new party of his so Reform UK or whatever it is, it's so powerful and so has so much traction is the over-regulation. It's not in the immigration issue, which you can argue about all day long. It's just inherent in the structure, the over-regulation of everything and everyone, and the overtaxation of everything and everyone, and that's the biggest thing that's bringing people to the table. And
so how does that tie into Orbex?
Well, if they block,
okay, I'll answer it.
Block the sale,
yeah,
then and Orbex had no choice. They owe more debts than they can pay, so that's the next stop is receivership.
Right?
No, you're done. And so now Skyrora comes in wanting to buy as much as they can for 10 pennies on the quid.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. At some level, this is kind of what happened to Maston 2 years ago, right?
He made a fatal mistake.
Of course he did, and I'm not trying to rehash his history, but there's situations like we talked about this 10 years ago when you have 100 or 150 launch companies. They're not all going to turn into SpaceX and Rocket Lab and Relativity, and they're just not going to, right? So there's going to be a continuous consolidation, and because of nationalism and sovereignty questions, people forget this is a highly regulated industry. So if the government wants to step in and say, nope, you can't do that, they 100% have the power to do that. Yeah. So we're probably going to see more of this. I don't think this is exclusive to the UK. I mean, maybe that's his decision was, and maybe there's more to that story. But the problem of it being a regulated industry, there's a lot of red tape in what
we have that in this country. We have regulations regarding M&A. We have regulations regarding M&A, but very rarely are they actually invoked, for a merger or an acquisition. So, they take it to the next level in Britain. Unfortunately. We got a new viewer come in, Richard Reynolds. Hi, welcome.
Hey,
we're getting a lot of newbies here tonight. I love it.
Well, shout out to Sean. He did some magic with our channel and a bunch of shorts, and we're seeing traction from it. So thanks, Sean, and thanks, Richard. All right, let's keep going. What do we got? We got about half an hour.
We got about 27 minutes. Okay, what's the next thing? I keep getting this thing. His webpage was reloaded because it was using significant energy. Well, who? Okay. Right. Oh, this is about the Latvian startup. They want to build.
I love this for so many reasons.
They want to make a reactor to generate electricity in the moon that's totally powered by nuclear waste, other people's nuclear waste, and they say they can do it. It's called Deep Space Energy, and they're developing a compact radioisotope power generator that says can deliver the same output as legacy space nuclear systems while using 5 times less fuel. And so they've gotten 350,000 euros in pre-seed funding and secured an additional 580,000 euros in public contracts and grants to push the technology toward commercialization.
I love every single bit of this.
Because technically it is the same kind of generator that, in a way, that powered Cassini and continues to power Voyager 2. Right. And so it's maybe old tech done in a new way, and it's going to be better, and that would be great. They could probably use one of those on Orion sometime if they can make it small enough, because because they're not using fuel cells anymore like we did in Apollo, and they've got these lovely solar panels that they're using, and probably a lot of nice batteries. But they said outright these panels can't be without solar exposure for 90 minutes or more.
Right.
Yeah. Fortunately, when you're going behind the moon, it's only like 40, 45, something or less. So that's okay. But anything that hoves into view like an asteroid that blocks it, for more than 90 minutes, they're going to start having a problem. I don't get it. Okay.
I love there's a couple of things I really like about this. Of course, I really like RTG tech. The new administration at Isaacman and company, they're talking about, nukes on the moon in a short amount of time. This is probably their fastest path to hit those self-imposed deadlines.
Yeah.
So just for the checkbox of it, this could be really powerful to accomplish a goal that some people are really skeptical of.
And
so I like the idea of getting the checkbox. That's one thing. Go ahead.
The timing couldn't be better, because it also ties in with Musk building a lunar city. Right. And everyone's going to want to go there and live, and they want their little radioisotope generators with them. So we may have a very very independently distributed kind of grid system there, because everyone's rolling their own. Plus some bigger ones, like for general use. You never know.
I think that's great. I'm definitely supportive of that. I also think it's great that Latvia is a country that we don't really think of having a space presence.
Right.
I was curious when I was reading this about kind of the rest of the story. So I'll tell you a brief story here. About 8 years ago, I met a professor from the Czech Republic, and he worked with the transportation ministry there, and they were thinking about what to do in space, and they were 100% following Luxembourg's move, and they were considering how can we use asteroid resources. And I personally, I'm going to take credit for it, I convinced them to not focus on asteroids, but instead focus on the moon, because that was a near-term target. And a lot of countries and a lot of companies were heading that direction. And then what they did was they did a university by university evaluation and study. What technologies did the Czech Republic have that they could apply to the moon? And what they realized was they were really good at lasers, all sorts of lasers, laser communication, range finding, spectrographic analysis. And that's what they decided to contribute to ESA's space program, which makes me wonder what is going on in Latvia, which honestly, I'm one of those guys that would have a hard time finding it on the map. I know roughly where it is, but I don't know that much about it. I was really excited because I was wondering if they were doing the same sort of evaluation within their university systems about what tech do they have for the moon, or where this came from, because this feels like it came out of nowhere. And I think usually this tech does not come out of nowhere. Usually there's a plan. So I'm really curious. I'm gonna have to look up what Latvia is doing for space right now, because I don't know anything about it. So that's it. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant.
Yeah,
I thought it was really fascinating.
So Dallas has a question. Dallas Beanhoff's with us, and he said,
"What
is the technology if it is not RTG?" That is a great rhetorical question for the atmosphere, because they don't say anything in the article.
I mean, they're saying it is RTG, but it's kind of a new and improved version, because it's using Aramecium 241, so it uses less fuel, and it's using other people's junk junk radiation. But it is still RTG. Here, I'm going to read the quote. The system converts heat from radioactive decay into electricity. The heat source comes from radioisotopes extracted from commercial nuclear reactor waste, primarily americium-241. So it's just a new and improved RTG. It's not an RTG. Sorry, that wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Cool.
Other than that, it's golden.
Yep. And that, by the way, is a plug for Thursday. Dallas is going to be our guest on Thursday when we're doing our tinfoil hat episode. So where I'm seriously going to go to the store and get aluminum foil and make a hat. I'm not kidding about that. It's going to be a goofy show. So looking forward to having you there, Dallas.
I stocked up against the excesses of what I thought Joe Biden was going to do in 2021. I've got tinfoil for the Russian army. No shortage at this house.
And Dallas is making a comment. If it's 4 to 5 times more efficient, it's still in the watts to kilowatts output range.
Yeah.
It does not specifically say that, but your math is good, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, 19 minutes to go. What do we got? I had to take a dive into old space. ULA, the unholy child of Lockheed Martin and Boeing, are trying to rebuild their fortunes, and yet here it is, and they think 18 to 22 launches this year is going to make them competitive. As we say here in Florida, bless their hearts.
I was going to say
that's what we say. Bless your heart. Because Elon's on a roll towards 150 this year, probably, not counting Starship. So, okay. But you think that's a bright future? I guess it is. If every other old space company just collapses and dies, sooner or later, maybe that's a bright future. What do you think?
Right. Their CEO just left, so I don't think he left because of a bright future. And where did he go? Where did Bruno go? Was that SpaceX or Blue?
I thought it was Blue.
But he's picking up basically the government liaison super vice president. I don't know what the hell his title is, but he's the guy who's going to help make sure that defense contracts go to that company. So that's the only thing ULA has going for it. It's the only thing they've had going for years. Is their consistent relationship with before the Air Force and now Space Force and other governmental contracts. So if it is really expensive and really sensitive, folks are still using ULA as their launch provider. But how long is that moat going to last? How long is that relationship going to continue? I really do kind of wonder about that. Dallas, that's a conversation for you on Thursday, by the way, again with your tinfoil hat version. And by the way, yes, it was Blue Origin. I just saw that. I would love to explore what happens to ULA. We always take the 5 years, the 10 years, the 25-year crystal ball out. So what happens to ULA in 5 years? Because I don't know.
Yeah, and then there's something that's not listed here. I think it was on the show before. We talked about because NASA is still trying to work with Boeing to get the CST-100 going, get Starliner going, and it's just how long are you going to whip this horse, man?
I want to rename that the little engine that could. The little spacecraft. I think I can. But
then the helium leaks again, and a voice goes up. I think I can.
Oh, it's true. Veronica makes a good point though, because people are worried about this Musk monopoly. They are, like, it's not trivial. When you own that much of the market, you do have to wonder that. And Veronica, that's one of the main reasons that Europe is well, and also Asia, in India and China are all, and Korea are all developing their own sovereign launch capability, because we didn't bring it up in the news. It's not kind of a normal thing for our show, but last week, SpaceX Starlink shut off servers to the Russians this time, not to the Ukrainians.
Mhm.
So that was a plus.
Yeah.
But by having that much power and just a decision to flip a switch, and all of your soldiers in the field are suddenly blind. I don't personally hate that the Russians are blind in the field, but that kind of power terrifies me.
Yeah.
That kind of power terrifies me. So,
well, just going back to the launch frequency. I mean, everybody said, "Oh God, how are they going to keep up with him?" And now it's dangerous. So now he has too much power, and he's doing this all the time. He's taking over the market, and how are you going to stop him? Well, I hate to tell you this, folks, but Mr. Crystal Ball, I saw this coming in 2018. And I tell you the exact day, February 6th of 2018, because that is when the first Falcon Heavy launched and landed not one, but 2 boosters right next to each other at the same time.
Unreal.
Everyone trying to build a launch capacity other than Musk should have seen that, shit their pants, and moved on.
Well, changed plans, reacted. Like, one of the first conversations we had during this show was, what does Liftport do in a world where SpaceX is going to the moon? Like, I don't know, but I mean, everybody who listens to this show should be asking that question. So yeah, your crystal ball was 100% accurate. Like, if you can do that, if you can land 2 boosters at a time, the world is going to change. Dallas is like, isn't that free enterprise? Yeah, damn right it is. That is the point of this.
What few free enterprise we have left. Yeah.
Right.
But
I'm a fan. But I mean, we do have to react to it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody with a crystal ball knows the world changed. So I'm excited about it, but I also wonder what happens next to me. Right? It's not an abstract conversation. It's not like, well, it'd be cool to get into the SpaceX IPO. This is a real question. Like, what happens to me?
You have a lot of ways to add value still. And so, and that actually be helpful in service of helping him build that city.
Well, and we're going to talk about next on Thursday, but that both SpaceX and Blue pivoted back to the moon within 2 weeks of each other. That's not a coincidence. I definitely, in my heart, I don't have evidence for this. I definitely think that's a Isaacman influence.
Nope.
But holy cow, does it crystallize the potential of going to the moon?
And this is why a lot of people say now in the punditry area, it's basically the space race has nothing to do with NASA. It's between Musk and Bezos and China. That's where it is.
Yep.
And that's the quiet part that Isaacman can't say out loud.
Send NASA beyond the moon. Like, there was a point when we're like, look, we don't need you guys so much on Leo anymore. We got that covered with 15,000 satellites in the sky, going to be 100,000 satellites in the sky, going to be 100,000 satellites in the sky. Let's move NASA beyond that, right? Dallas is saying Liftport should be thinking about Earth point-to-point rocket travel.
Right.
I don't think that's where we're going.
But you make elevators. That's
right,
probably your Otis.
Well,
you're making elevators.
From L1, we could probably pinpoint landings back here on Earth. So, if we got the heat shields and the parachutes, right? But probably other people are going to be a part of that. But yeah, it's interesting. I do have to think about it. All right, in our last 10 minutes, sir, watching the clock.
What do we got?
What do we got?
So the bright future, goes dark. Oh, I talk about this startup called General Galactic. They have a water-based propellant, but I only mention it because it was co-founded by a former SpaceX engineer. So here's another SpaceX alumnus that's trying to build something on their own.
Right. God. Just pause there for a second. We'll come back to this because I do want to talk about it, but just imagine for a minute how much freed up capital there's going to be when that IPO happens, right? People that were at SpaceX in the earliest days. I know their first marketing communications director. That guy's going to be sitting very pretty, right? But look at there's the PayPal mafia that we all know. There already is a known SpaceX mafia. There's also a Blue Origin mafia. But fast forward 6 months from now, 9 months from now, when their vesting period is over and they've got boxcars full of new money, and they've got experience and talent and credentials, bona fides that are unrivaled, and then they go do their own thing. Same thing I just said about XAI a minute ago, right? Buckets and boxcars full of money to go do what they want to do. That's going to supercharge this industry in the way that I don't think
that's true. And we got to get for that because there's things we can do too if we can get a piece of that somehow. So you know what?
Right.
Let's keep careful look at what's going on and advise our friends.
Right.
Yeah.
General Galactic. It's cool. I don't really get their water from water as rocket fuel plan. I hope they're right. Because a lot of people are betting on it, but I didn't think we were quite ready for that tech.
Well, what they're calling it is the yada yada problem, which I think is pithy. There's this hand wave assumption. There's a yada yada at the core of our long-term space program, and we'll find ice there. We'll break it down to hydrogen, oxygen, yada yada. We'll use that fuel to fly deeper in the solar system, and if we can combine it with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and yada yada yada, we use that to fly the astronauts back. There's always a lot of hand waving yada 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 assumptions. We've had for 15, 20 years even.
Sure.
And so now they want to. So then they say, well, this company wants to solve the yada yada problem. Clearly, New Yorkers are ex-New Yorkers.
Yeah. I love that. I don't really have that much to add because I still think it's a yada yada problem, but it's not my area, so I don't have anything to add to it. So finger crossed that they're right. It's all I can say. I am going to read what they actually said, though. There are, quote, there are, to broadly oversimplify, two main kinds of engines that you can use in your spacecraft. You can take a fuel like liquid methane, maybe combine it with an oxidizer and burn it. That's called chemical propulsion. And every big rocket you've ever seen takes off uses some variation of that method because it provides a lot of thrust, even if it's not terribly efficient. Or you can take a gas like xenon, zap it with electricity, and shoot it out of the spacecraft, either as an ionized gas or a plasma. That's called electropropulsion. Again, I'm way oversimplifying. And it's, quote, very, very low thrust. People jokingly like to call it a burp in space. That's the CEO. Yeah. So, okay, I get what they're saying. I get what they're doing. I hope that they're right. And they're going to try to build enough burps over time can actually be quite effective. That's their line. So fingers crossed for them.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we're getting close to the end, but here's a good one to, get to the end with. I thought this was interesting. It's from the other day. U.S. Space Force makes commercial the default setting
Yeah.
for them. It's no longer a recommendation, it's an imperative for them. And the Pentagon as a whole is embracing commercial acquisition processes and tech at a greater level, as the Space Force has already capitalized on a robust market, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, it's another one of those things where you have to, like, you know, pay the wall, but you pay the wall. But we got enough out of that because we've seen it. It's just a reminder of what we've been seeing, and now this connects the dots. This is the conclusion from all that they're doing.
This is big, right? It seems like it's not that big a deal, but it is. I've talked before about going to some of the meetings, the space-based industrial meeting that I think is one of the most important meetings in the country, and it's one no one ever goes to and no one ever talks about. But they were talking even in 2020 about buy what you can, build what you must, as just this ethos, this philosophy of how we should be doing things. And that has crept up in policy papers, in documents. Think tanks have supported it. And it's like, oh, now it's actually the rule of the land. But it took 5-6 years to get there, but it's there. And I think it's real now. And I think it's really good. So I'm super supportive here. Yeah.
I got 4 minutes. I want to throw out two things I want to throw out. I want to make sure I get the turtle in there. It's a startup called Wardstone, and they're using a new approach to space-based missile defense. And so what they're doing, they're actively tracking hypersonic threats is the idea. And the interceptors then, shortly before impact, deploy large particle clouds. And now instead of having one interceptor thing, now you have 1,000 things coming at that missile at, well, the same speed.
Wow.
Just like
basically you're building a wall.
Just like it's like a cloud of space junk now coming at you.
Huh.
Literally a shotgun approach.
Yeah, I gotta say.
Boom.
Huh. I can see a lot of ways that might work, but I can see a lot of ways it could go terribly wrong.
Yeah, thinking of the satellites that are already in commercial orbits.
Yeah,
trying to shoot past them to intercept the missiles. Yeah, that could be vaguely important.
Right. Like you might win the battle but lose the war if you did that.
Yeah.
All right, that's worth pondering, but we got to move on.
Okay. Final. It's not the final, but it could be. I love it because this is a thing from Ars Technica. Apparently, Bezos is trolling Musk on his own platform with turtle pictures. The old tortoise and the hare, thing. And Bezos doesn't post much, obviously on X, but today he did. He shared a black and white image of a turtle emerging from the shadows. No text, but the message was clear because the company's coat of arms has two turtles.
Right.
And a reference to the Aesop fable, the tortoise and the hare. So he's saying, hey, it's my turn, man.
Well, I mean, it's also saying, like, catch up, we're already ahead of you. Like, it's weird that Blue is in front of SpaceX, reminding everybody that Blue, in fact, did get the first orbital, suborbital reusable rocket just about 6 weeks ahead of SpaceX.
Yeah.
So they've been in this race together for a long time. And Blue did beat SpaceX, although it's hard to imagine that now, given how far SpaceX is in front of Blue. So kind of cool. Good. I like the troll. I would love to see both of those guys on the same stage at the same time sometime.
But I'm kind of betting on Blue Moon Lander to be first.
Oh,
and the bragging rights that come with that.
Yeah,
that's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
Musk may win that war in the end by building a whole damn city, but there are things that are gonna, come out there. Not everything goes into Elon's pocket as far as changing the world and making history. It's and that's a good thing. Yeah. And we're coming up to the end, Michael. This has been a fun time, and we had a lot of great people here tonight. I love you all. Thanks for coming. That was great. And I'll say it again. This coming Thursday night, always 8 p.m. Eastern, we're doing tinfoil hat night. Bring your favorite space conspiracy theories, your favorite beverages and popcorn. And Dallas Beanoff, our returning guest, will be joining the fun as well. And we're really insisting audience participation is highly recommended. Tell your friends, bring them here. This is going to be an absolute gas. You're going to love it. And if it really gets popular, we may make it an annual event. That's just what I'm hoping for. Right. So on that note, for Michael Lane and Sean Key from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.